We're sitting with one of the greatest, not only defenders in the National Football League, but players in the National Football League. 17 seasons. That's a lot of football.
11 Pro Bowl years, too.
11 Pro Bowls. And then inducted to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2009. Legend, Rod Woodson.
I appreciate it, man.
Head coach as well, too. Head coach as well.
Head coach
of an XFL franchise. It's building what's it like to be part of an upstart, even though it's been here before?
3.0, XFL 3.0.
This is the one that's going to stick.
Third time around. We got to hope it's a charm. I was hoping it's a charm. But it's really it's a great opportunity. And, you know, if you ever coached in anything, be it Little League, you always want to be the head guy, right? You always want to be that dude, like the head coach. Right, it doesn't really matter. You might not say it out loud, but you kind of want to be that dude. And then when I was given the opportunity back in last September, you know, they came out and we were talking to the higher-ups. They said they were going to bring it back. And I'm like, you know, in a perfect world, this is a perfect setting because I can work with the XFL, still have my own foundation, which is Hope Through Football, and really give back to these young guys. Because really it's about them. I mean, I've lived my life, man. I don't need to do a whole bunch of more. But giving these guys opportunity. And everybody I have on my coaching staff, I got to bring my own coaching staff together. You know, my coaching staff, we got rules. And one rule is don't be an a-hole. Second rule is care about the players. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to not be a-holes to each other, to the players, but we're going to care about the players more than being an athlete.
That was one of the questions I had for you. How do you put together a staff at this stage? I
mean, it's, you know, I got some old heads who just know ball, you know, the foundation of football, how to get it out of the guys who've been around for a while. Yep. So I got Bob Wiley, I got Ray Sherman.
Oh, love him.
You know, I've known Ray since I've been 17 years old. He was at Purdue before I got there. So he was one of the reasons I went to Purdue.
Wow.
You know, he was just a good dude.
Should have been a head coach.
Should have been a head coach, having those opportunities. But the staff I put together is kind of a really good blend of older guys and younger guys. I got a female on my staff.
There you go.
As my linebacker coach. I got a foreigner. I got a guy, a Franco, who lives in the UK but was born in Mexico. He's our quality control guy. So I got a good blend of individuals together, but they all care about football.
Right.
And they all care about the players. And that's the end of the day. I want guys who can work together, who don't have egos, who can put that stuff aside and care about the players.
Right.
And at the end, I think we did that. I think I did a good job of putting those guys together, and it's going to be fun. We're excited about it.
Yeah. So, you know, football, coaching, highest level, television, and now XFL, right? Like you said, you know, it's about the guys now. You've had a lot of experiences in a lot of different spaces. My question for you is, did you recruit the XFL or did they recruit you?
They recruited me. I didn't even know they were coming back.
Really?
And then I get a text from one of the higher-ups.
Why are you saying higher-ups?
Because I don't want to put names. I don't want to put names.
You mean The Rock?
No, I didn't know Dwayne like that. You know.
Have you met him yet?
I met Dwayne. Yes, I met Dwayne.
Is he
met Dwayne and Danny Garcia, his ex-wife. But who are owners. And then I have not met the head of Redbird Capital, Jerry. I have not met him yet.
Right.
But you know, meeting those individuals, I got a text from Doug Whaley, who's a part of the personnel with the XFL, and Doug is an old school guy from Pittsburgh. He's with the Steelers when I was there as a player. And when he texts me, I'm like, I mean, what does Doug want, man? Like, Doug ain't texted me in a minute,
right?
You know, so what does he want? And I called him, and he was like, hey, man, we're doing this. You know, we're part of the XFL. It's coming back. And I'm like, what? It's coming back? And then he's like, yeah, we want to come out and fly out to Vegas and talk to you. So him, Mark Ross, and Russ Brandon all came out. So some of the higher ups that came out for that side. And I'm like, asked a couple questions. And I said, listen, in a perfect world, this is a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for me to still coach, because that's what I love. I love ball. I love coaching at the grassroots level. a giving back that was given to me from all of my really good coaches that I've been around,
Right.
my old school head football players that I've been around who kind of taught me how to be not just a football player, but be a man,
Right.
how to be a true man. And I was like, yeah. And then, but in the back of my mind, I was still like, yeah, I said, yeah, but is this thing really going to work? And like, it's not going to work until I get a contract. I know
Right.
that. And then a couple months later, I got a contract, signed the contract, and, got to have the opportunity to start getting my own personnel guys and my own people to come in who kind of think like I do in that aspect. And I think, like I said, I think I got a good staff, but it was one of those guys that they called me, and I'm glad they did. God works in mysterious ways, man. He puts people together when he know it's your time.
Right.
Maybe I'm more mature now than I've ever been in my life.
Right.
And they gave me this opportunity.
So Omar, I get one more question, and I'll let you take it from there. What's the purpose of the XFL, right? Like, are you guys competing against the NFL? Is it a farm league to the NFL? Like, what's the purpose?
Well, the purpose is to give a guy an opportunity to show their wares. The NFL is football is the only major sport that doesn't have a minor league. So you either make it in the NFL, you don't make it.
Right.
There's no other place to show your wares. We see now that coaches get fired after a year, 2 years, 3 years. So players don't even get the opportunity. Even if you're on practice squad, you don't get the opportunity to show your wares. And some guys who come out early, or some guys who just come out and maybe they go through the 4 years of college, maybe they need one more year of really learning ball and learning how to play at a professional level and even learning how to be a pro. Right, but in the NFL, you don't have that opportunity.
Nope.
So they'll put up with you until they don't need you.
Yeah.
And this is really a platform.
Well, they'll put up with the stars until they don't need you.
Until they don't need them.
But
the rest of them, the bubble guys, they'll be rid of them quick.
That's right.
So for the XFL, I think is in a place where these young men can show their wares, and hopefully one or two of them or three of them or four of them throughout the whole league, 5 of them, maybe a handful, could be on an active roster in the NFL. Because that's their dream, and we all know that. Everybody in the XFL knows the dream is to play in the National Football League, to play at the highest level. But there's a good living for a lot of those guys who played minor league baseball for 15 years or play in the G League for 8 or so years. You can do that. Same thing with hockey. Well, in football, you couldn't.
Right.
But so hopefully this is a place and a platform where these guys can do that. Yeah, they're good enough to play ball, pro ball, but not at the highest level. And it's going to be some of those guys like that. And let's be honest, there's going to be guys like that. But for those guys who need that another year, another 2 years, or maybe a coach says it in a certain way that somebody already planted a seed inside of them, and it kind of clicks.
Right.
It resonates with them. He goes, yeah, oh, yeah. But if somebody already said it before, right? It's nothing new.
Right.
And it clicks to them, and then it changes them.
Yep.
And then they become a better football player. And that guy has a great opportunity to go into the National Football League and maybe play 3 or 4 years and make some money for his family.
That's right.
We're here talking with Rod Woodson, Hall of Famer, and it's funny that I can mention Hall of Famer because now that you're in, you can hold the standard like Deion did. I don't know if you've heard his recent comments where he said that the Hall of Fame it seems to be getting a little bit watered down where everybody's getting in now. What is your perspective on Deion's comments?
Yeah, I don't like to disparage guys who got in, but I will say this. When I came in, and football's been played for over 100 years now. So when I came in 2009, I was the 253rd individual who was inducted into the Hall of Fame. But since my time frame of being in, from 09 to 22, there's been 135 more guys, 140 more guys been put in. It's a lot of guys, man.
Right.
So in a way, think about, we had the century mark. I think it was a century team or something like that with 20 guys. Is 20 guys really, because they're really supposed to be the best of the best of the best of the best who ever played. And when they mention when they talk about generations, they have to say your name inside of that sentence. that's a Hall of Famer. There's been a lot of great players who played a long time that, I mean, I think of some of the guys who are in now, I think a lot of guys can now be in the Hall of Fame. So I understand what Deion's saying. I'm just not a person to disparage of what they are. I mean, at the end of the day, if we were voters, then we can really say our mark.
Right.
Right. I can say no.
Why are you not voters, though? This is a process that
great
doesn't
question.
make any sense to me.
That's something that you would have to take with the Hall of Fame. Remember, the Hall of Fame has nothing to do with the National Football League.
Yeah.
It's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So they have their individual way of doing it, and they've been doing it for so long, and they can't get away from it.
No, why can't they?
Yeah.
They could, but they can't because they like the structure that has been there for so long. And I'm not a real fan of it. I think we do have 2 voters, but both those voters, I think James Lofton's one. I think Dan Fouts is one.
Okay.
But they're part of the media now.
Right.
So they see him as a ex-player, but media too.
Right.
But do you feel it's fair that the media serves as the gatekeepers for
No.
what are the legends of the game?
I do not. I believe Art Modell should be in the Hall of Fame. Art Modell was the only owner that was a part of the merger of the AFL and the NFL that's not in the Hall of Fame. And the only reason he's not in the Hall of Fame is because he moved his team. Everybody moves their team.
Right.
And there's one guy who has a lot of sway in that room who's keeping him out, which I think is absolutely ridiculous.
Who's that guy?
I can't remember the gentleman's
You know
name.
his name.
I really don't. I don't remember I do have it written down on
Trying
my
to get
phone.
Rod Woodson to be messy.
I have it in my phone, but I don't have it. When I see him,
Can we get Rod Woodson's phone, please?
when I see him in person,
Right.
I'm gonna call him out.
Really?
I'm gonna call him out. But I said
love
it. I
that.
said it in my speech that Art Modell belongs there.
Right.
You know, people booed me, and I'm like, hey, you know what? The truth don't always feel good.
I love that, man. We gotta, I think it's on us as players, active players, to push the game forward, to get things changed. Whether it's the Rooney Rule, so getting more support for our minority coaches, or our retired Hall of Famers to change things when it comes to how we take care of our retired guys or the Hall of Fame. Right. So let me ask you this: you got all the power, okay? Let's play along with me.
Okay, I got you.
You got all the power. Give me 3 things you'll change about the Hall of Fame.
About the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, as far as like how we do things, how we induct guys. Like
The first thing I would do, I would make it more like baseball. So you would have to have a certain percentage. You don't have to have a minimum. So in baseball, there is no minimum number of players that have to go in that year. You've seen sometimes it's been 1.
right.
And then, but that's what happens.
Yeah.
In football, we have a minimum, I think 4 or 5. I think it is. So you have to have a minimum of 4. So if you go in a class that is not real stacked,
Yep.
then those individuals are going to go in, even though there's a lot of question marks there. And that to me, I just think is you shouldn't have that. You should be worthy enough to go in, or you shouldn't. One or the other. Secondly, I don't know if I would change too much more. I mean, that's the one thing that I had, because they've done a lot of good things for players, and it's really, at the end of the day, we're still retired players. Just because we got to go jacket doesn't mean we're any different than all the other players that played in the National Football League. Now, I have another issue.
Difference.
I have another issue in the sense that, what we did of getting free agency and how the money has changed and all that stuff, but just how the retirement packages that you get, and more so than anything, not just for guys who are retired already, but guys who are going to retire. Now, the money is so much greater, but it's only for the top 3%, 5%, right? So the rest of the guys are still going to be struggling. So what I keep telling the guys who are playing today is that you got to get a retirement package for your medical that goes beyond 5 years.
That's right.
I didn't need it in my first 5 years.
Right.
But I'm going to need it maybe in another 5. And I've been blessed to be healthy.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of guys who aren't blessed to be healthy.
I had a guy. We're partnered with the NFL Trust, so a lot of our guys can come train here for free. There's over 3,000 or right around 3,000 retired guys from West Palm Beach all the way down to Dade. Okay, and so these guys are in every morning. And I had a guy in this morning, and he was like, "Man, I almost called the doc this weekend. I couldn't even get out of bed. Like he hurt his back.
Right.
He had surgery, and you know, he can barely walk. He was moving his daughter into her dorm.
Oh, right.
Right, and he did something,
Tweaked it,
and now he's like limping around. And so, to your point, we got to do more for our guys, and hopefully we get it done.
Yeah, and they do have some things. NFL have that, you know, the hospital thing and the the 88, right? So they're getting there. That's coming from the NFL though.
Right.
It's not coming from the NFLPA.
Right.
That's my problem.
Oh, you think it should come from the NFLPA?
I think it's come from the NFL. NFLPA should be striding to that point where they want help for the retired players, even though they think, and I know how they think, even though they think they don't represent us as retired players, but you do, because everybody's going to retire.
Right.
Right. Like everybody, nobody plays forever.
Right.
So you got to think in long-term care for these guys, and right now they're not, and that's the problem I have with the NFLPA. And the NFL is doing their job in a sense that they are coming together and making, you know, they do come together and have some positive influence with each other. But I just think the NFLPA should push more for these guys what they're going to need not in 5 years.
That's right.
But in 15 years, in 20 years. Because if you had 5 knee surgeries like I had, and you have bad knees, you're not getting medical insurance real easy, you know, outside on your own.
Right.
So having something to long-lasting effect for those guys that they can have for them and their wives down the road. We all know at 26-year-olds, your kids need to get off. Okay, yes, I get that. But for those individuals who played and put their time in, they should protect them in some form or fashion with the health care.
Right.
Let's get on to some of the current players of today's game. You were one of the elite defensive backs in the NFL. Who is your top 5 defensive back today?
I hate rating guys. Man.
Oh, you don't have to rate them 1 through 5. But
I'm gonna get social media quick.
That's right. But you're tough. You played in Pittsburgh. You know, I'm from Pittsburgh. You know, we're tough there, so you can handle it.
I could take. I mean, the truth does hurt sometimes. It stings, right? It doesn't always feel good. I tell my kids that all the time. Some of the really good ones, and I'm not putting them in order. All right, so we have. Let's go with first corner Buffalo White. I thought he was tremendous. I know he was hurt last year, but he's a nice little player. I didn't think he was going to be that good, to be honest.
Right.
And, you know, because speed doesn't always equate to being really good in the pros. But he just became a really good corner outside of his pure speed. Good fundamentals, good transition, good eyes, always in good position at the receiver to interception rate, all that stuff. I mean, it's just, you know, he's one of those guys. Let me see. I always like Big Play Slay. You know, that's been my dude. Yeah. Darius Slay. Darius Slay's been my dude for a while. You know, a guy that's really humble. A lot of guys didn't think he was going to be a great player when he came out. But just one of those guys that has just been there and done it for quite a long time. So you have to love that. What's my man? I'm losing his name. What's my man up there with the Rams?
Jalen.
Jalen.
You forgot his name?
No, I know Jalen. I mean, I just couldn't remember his name on the top of my head. But Jalen's a player. Jalen's a player at Florida State.
I just want to say thank you for giving us a headline in the South Bulletin board material. You know, Jake like, what? The disrespect.
Hey. No, but I've loved Jalen since he was at Florida State when I graded him when he was when coming out. One of those players, just man, he's so talented that he makes plays. Just off pure talent, he makes plays. So I love Jalen. I love James, safety with the Chargers. Man, that dude, the real deal.
He's the real deal.
I hope he stays healthy.
Right.
Because when he's healthy, he's a difference maker for their football team. Derwin James. I mean, Derwin is just. He was like that in college. You know, he came out, he's been banged up a little bit. So we've never really seen even though he's been a Pro Bowler, I don't think we've ever seen like the best version of him.
Right.
Because he hasn't been healthy for extended period.
That's right.
I think if he's healthy this year and stays healthy, man, the dude is he's the real deal. Right. First of all, he's a great player. Mm-hmm. he's a really good person.
Right.
And that's hard to find. The combination of the two
right.
is really hard to find. I'm trying to think. So I was 4. Let me think of my last one. Lattimore down in with the Saints. Lattimore and the last one is kind of between Lattimore and Minka, right? Fitzpatrick with the Steelers, right? The safety. I don't think Minka had his best season last year, and I would think if he's grading himself really hard, he would say the same thing. Same thing with Lattimore. 2 different positions though, right?
Yes.
You got a free safety who's in the middle of the field, and you got a guy that's playing on the island. I think they have different skill sets, but I like both those guys. What I love about Minka is that when he came into Pittsburgh, he kind of changed the mindset again on the defensive side because for so many years since Troy has retired, there was nobody back there making plays on the ball.
That's right.
And he started making plays on the ball, and the rest of the guys said, away. We could do that?
Yeah.
That's legal?
Right.
Oh, okay, yeah, let's go do that. And he really changed the culture again on the back end, where Lattimore is just one of those guys, just pure dog outside.
That's right.
That's going to take the best receiver man-to-man and play him down the field.
It's interesting that you say that because Asante Samuels, which we had on I Am Athlete, he sparked up this big debate about, do you prefer a cornerback or a defensive back who gets the ball, or you do prefer the guy who shadows somebody and locks them down? Who has more value?
I want both. Can we get both?
So basically, let's highlight it, right? Yourself, Dion, even Zont, y'all turned the ball over, right? And then you look at Jalen. He mentioned Darrelle Revis. It's the standard to get in the Hall of Fame is turn the ball over, pick the ball.
Get the rock.
Right.
The really good Hall of Famers did both.
Yes.
They shadowed.
They should.
They shadowed and they got the rock. Right. So the mindset of a player, you really want a guy that when the ball's in the air, when the ball was in the air, when they was throwing, I'm covering a guy, the ball's in the air, that's my rock. I know he threw it to the receiver. That's mine though. And I'm going to set him up as such. So I always tell guys, if you do one thing and you only do one thing when you're doing one thing, they know you only do one thing. They know it.
Right.
So if you only press when you play man, that's to the offensive advantage.
Right.
But now if you press bail, stop and cover 2, play cover 2 from 8 yards off. But now you got to have coaches who allow you to do things like that, which I was really blessed to have when I was in in Pittsburgh, that they allow you to do those type of things, but then you create. Now I can say, okay, and I really was a safety who transitioned to corner when I got to the pros. When I ran my 40 at the combine, they're like, oh yeah, you're gonna run, you're gonna play corner. But then when I got to move back to safety, my last 5 years, I think I had 27, 28, 30 interceptions my last 5 years.
Easy. Was it easy?
It was easier. But then again, it was easier because I knew what the backer was doing, what the D-line should do, where the corner is going to be. But then I can mess with that quarterback. Instead of being in the middle of the field, I'm going to modify my post, and I'm going to be on the backside hash looking at number 3.
Right.
And then, if number 3 is going to run a seam, he doesn't run a straight seam. He always runs a seam away from the other safety because there's a safety on the other side. So he's going to bend it back toward me anyway. So you play those little games and understanding what the quarterback's going to do, and that's how you get the rock.
Right.
And then, and as Tony Dungy used to tell me my rookie year, if you catch the ones that come to you, you'll lead the league.
Right. So who was the best at it? You, Ed Reed, Polamalu, and who? Am I missing anyone? You got some of the younger ones.
I think the younger guys. I don't think any of those guys are going to be having as many interceptions as we've had. If you look at where they're at right now in their careers and how many interceptions they have right now, they would have to get a boatload of interceptions last 5 or 6 or 7 years that they're going to be in the league to get to the point where we're at. What Ed has done from throughout, same thing kind of like what I have done throughout, and even Troy, is that you just kind of see the game in a different way. And you got to have filters. Right. Because coaches they can take away your natural ability.
Oh my goodness!
Right? They can. They can.
You ain't gonna do that
You got to be in the middle of the field. You can't leave until the long arm. Long arm. I can't outrun no football.
Right.
So if you do that, if you have those filters where you hear the coach, but in your head you're shaking, But in your head, you're saying, no, I ain't doing that.
You know, the part of coaching that I really struggle with is when they see an elite player, someone like you and Ed, or hell, a receiver, Jerry Rice, whatever, and you have a feel for the game, and they try to start teaching that. Oh, you see how he did that? Let me teach you how he did that. No, that's just natural. That's a natural feel. You can't teach that.
Yeah,
they start putting drills in place.
It's just the great thing to me. Coaching is about teaching the guys the fundamentals of the game, but making the game simple, like breaking your fractions down to a prime number, right? I mean, that to me is like making
simple at all.
Yeah.
But make fractions to the prime number.
But you really, I mean, you're trying to break that down, right? So you're trying to make the game like a guy who taught me the game by reading, like understanding defenses or offenses is a guy named Rod Woodson. He asked me how many formations can an offense get into. Mm-hmm. It's my third year in the league. I was like, oh, frick, coach. 500? I don't know. He was like, how many eligible receivers? I said 5. They can get in 5 formations. I was like, what? He was like, yeah. They can get in pro, right? You got 2 receivers, 1 receiver, 2 back, which nobody runs anymore, right? They can get in slot. So back in the day, everybody would get in slot and put the speed on one side. And then when you did that, you always had a dual number or did something different on the speed side. When they're in 1 back, there was only 2 formations, 2 by 2 or 3 by 1. They can't mean anything else. Right? Irrelevant of the personnel groupings and empty. And he said what offenses do is they'll put different personnel groupings in, move different pieces around, stop at a certain place, be it condensed or wide, and they're going to run so many plays out of that. And we were going through film. It was me and him in the room for like 4 or 5 weeks. And like week 4, cling, that green light clicked on. I was like, oh, God, that's all they do? He's like, that's all they do, Rod.
Right.
He said, all you got to do is believe it when you see it. I said, oh, I don't got a problem with that one right there. I'm going to go try to get that thing.
Wow.
And it just clicked in, and I see the game through pure formations, irrelevant of the personnel groupings. So if I was playing you and it was a 3 by 1, and every time it was a 3 by 1, you ran a hitch because they ran a certain thing in that situation, you better not run that hitch.
You know it.
I'm coming to get that. Now, if you double move me, you got me. Which I've been got.
Right.
I've been got. But as Dick LeBeau would say, the bear going to get you.
Right.
You get the bear. As long as you get the bear more than he gets you, you playing good football.
Right. My last question I have for you, who was the bear when it came to the wide receiver position?
Oh, man.
Who was your bear?
Or
bears.
I say there's 2 guys when I played that gave me issues. Webster Slaughter for the Cleveland Browns, because he was 5'10-ish, 5'11", really quick, can create separation off the break. And then Andre Reed came in, and Andre was that slot receiver in that K-gun. And Andre's he was a big slot receiver.
He's a big slot.
And he was bigger than the normal guys that was in the slot. So I would get my hands on them little dudes who like, you ain't going nowhere. And I remember first time coming up to Andre, I like hit him. And he slapped my hand down, and I was like, oh, shoot. I got to change my game plan with this one. I just got to run with this dude.
Yeah.
I can't try to be physical with him because he's going to be physical back.
Right.
So those 2 guys, the guys I had to play like almost every single year made me really think about how I was going to play them.
Right. It's good. It's good.
Thank you. We appreciate your time.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
There you go.
Good luck to you
man,
building the team.
Man, I'm proud of you, man. You're doing some good things down here.
Thank you.
Proud of you, man.
Let's go. I Am Athlete Tonight, 17 seasons.
Jalen, I love you, though.
Headline.